Hi, and welcome to this edition of Fresh Hope for Mental Health. Our mission here at Fresh Hope for Mental Health is to empower you to live well in spite of your mental health challenge by sharing insights through interviews, practical tools for living well, encouragement, and courage for overcoming all from a Christian perspective. And now, here's your host, Pastor Brad Hoefs.
Hello, my friend, and welcome to this edition of Fresh Hope for Mental Health. I'm Brad Hoefs, your host. Our purpose here on Fresh Hope for Mental Health is to empower you to live a faith-filled, rich, and full life in spite of having a mental health diagnosis. Well, this podcast, as well as the two prior editions of Fresh Hope for Mental Health, I'm hoping that people not just with mental health challenges are listening to this, but for everybody, because, well, as far as I'm concerned, the world has a mental health crisis that we're all going through right now called this global pandemic, and it's causing all kinds of havoc with people's mental health. So this is the third one, part 3 of a 3-part series. So there's 3 episodes, episode 1, Episode 2, Episode 3, and this is the third one now on how to stay sane or staying sane during crazy times, how to survive times like this. And again, for those of us in the United States, and at the time of recording this, it's November, almost the middle of November, and we're still dealing with the political situation and what would I say, the trauma of our national politics. Maybe that's the best way to put it. But so a lot of people are experiencing craziness, just a lot of things. And right now, at the time of recording this podcast, the pandemic has reached a new high. And it's getting worse and worse. So some of us are facing lockdowns. Some of us are really facing, stay home again, don't go out, don't do this. It's just an ongoing traumatic and difficult situation for us all to go through. And yet it could be a lot worse, really. It could be. Believe it or not, it could be. And hopefully it won't get a lot worse. But in any case, that's why I'm recording these and have recorded these episodes for you, because I've done it more out of selfishness that I really need to hear some of this myself, and I need to remind myself of it. So in the first episode, we talked about 3 ways of clearing your thinking or getting your thinking straight, taking captive your thinking in 3 different areas. And then in the last episode, we talked about 8 things you got to remember when you're going through crazy times. And in this one, I just want to give you some, I think they're practical. A few of them might be repeats a little bit, but just some practical things that you and I can do in order to maintain our mental health. I jokingly say, maintain our sanity, but that's really what it is. To maintain your mental health is really to maintain your sanity, if you will, and to have good mental health. So here's my list of practical advice. Recently, I wrote it down for myself. I really did. Number 1, turn off the news and social media, Brad. Stop watching so much of it. I would encourage you to do the same. I've actually watched friends lose friends on Facebook regarding the political stuff, and then they get into this argument about whether you should wear masks and why people don't wear masks. And by the way, I wear a mask everywhere I go, and I should wear a mask in the house to keep myself from eating myself through this. But in any case, too much news and social media can contribute to our ruminating over and over, and that will break down your mental health. And if you ruminate enough, your brain gets stuck in that electrical current, and you keep thinking those things over and over and over. So I've really attempted, I haven't always done real well at it, to not watch too much news. After all, if you watch about a half hour of it, you know what you need to know, and the rest is just repeat after repeat, and it's not good for us. And then you can really start churning it around and becoming angry, and what can I do? I came to the conclusion about 12 years ago with politics that there's only so much I can do with the world, with our culture, with everything. And I'm not going to debate other people about what I think versus what I think they should think. I'm not going to debate it. I'm not even going to try to persuade them, because generally speaking, you're not going to persuade anybody. But instead, I'm just trying to love and be a Christian in the midst of all this gunfire that goes back and forth on social media. So I just think we are called not to debate as Christians. We're just called to love and not judge, but to receive people in mercy and grace and be their friend. That's not in line with cultural Christianity. That's a whole nother topic, but it would seem that there's a lot of cultural Christianity that goes on, and quite honestly, we are called to be salt and light. And so that's one of my rules of thumb for staying sane, is don't get swept up by the social media news and turn it off. Secondly, I don't argue with fools. If they are so emotional about something that they're not able to be rational, there's no sense in arguing with them. You're not going to change their mind, and you can't argue with fools. Number 3 is going through tough times requires you to take it only one day at a time. I try not to get too far ahead of myself with whether it's 6 weeks from now or 8 weeks. When things are in the up in the air as much as they are today, you have to take it one day at a time, all the time. But when you're going through such a time as we're going through now, I don't think it's beneficial to do more than just say, I'm taking today. I will do some planning for tomorrow, maybe towards the end of the week or something. But I'm going to remain as flexible emotionally and physically, as well as just being able to flex with the time. Things might change on a dime, and I'm just going to be flexible with it. And I'm just going to take today, right now, and live. Number 4, stop trying to figure everything out and follow all the nuances of everything going on in the world, or even the nuances with the coronavirus. I mean, whether this works or that doesn't work, and now this research says this and that research says that. Don't try to figure all that out and even keep up with it. You got to figure out who to listen to, and then you got to get on with it. Number 5, I, at all costs, all the time, but especially during crazy times, really try to avoid operating out of an emotional mindset. For me, that means not responding emotionally to everything. And instead being rational about it. And therefore, I don't blow things off, but I also don't run around in an emotional mindset, unable to calm myself down. I see that happening many times, and it just does not benefit anyone if you're always responding to everything emotionally. The best thing you can do is use the balance of your emotional and your rational mindset, and to really be very balanced about it. It doesn't mean you can't have emotions and feelings. You just don't respond to life because of and in and through those emotions. Hopefully that's making some sense. It's a little bit more complex than what I'm probably making it out to be, but I try to avoid being overly emotional. And even as I read and listen and see things going on in the world today, it's just craziness, and I'm not getting on that roller coaster ride. Number 6, do hobbies. Find things that require you to focus on what you're doing. and doesn't allow your mind to wander around. My mind, when it wanders around, and if left alone, my mind goes to the darkest spots. It's not helpful. So, for instance, I do artwork. That's been a huge hobby for me, and I'm painting my way through this pandemic, and well, along with eating, but please don't tell anybody that one. But I'm really painting through the pandemic. It's a hobby that I love, and I'm able to do it. And when I do it, I'm so refreshed and cleansed afterwards. My wife is doing puzzles. She loves to do the jigsaw puzzles. And I got her one the other day where it was all 1,000 pieces of pencils lined up, end to end, row to row. It looked like a gigantic headache to me. But you got to find things that are fulfilling and do them. Number 6, I tell myself all the time, get into the Word, worship, dream, and enjoy the little things, and ponder God and ponder His Word. I tend to worry more about things than I do praying about them. And so I always tell myself, check yourself, Brad. You're going to make this statement, or you're going to whine or cry about this or whatever. And when in fact, I've done more of that than I have praying and just looking to God. And so I always tell myself, check yourself, go to the Word, go to the Lord, spend time with Him. Number 7, keep a routine, but be flexible. Change it up every now and then, but keep a routine. Get up at the same time, do the same things. This was key in my nephew's. He had a brain injury because of a bus crash. And one of the things that was imperative, they said, during this time when he was actually out and on a ventilator, was that my sister kept a routine for him. She let him smell, or would put a little toothpaste by his nose. She would talk him through his morning routine and all of those things. Folks, I'm telling you, there's something about routines we need. By the way, that was probably a key factor, or a fundamental factor, that helped him in his recovery after that brain injury. So keep a routine, but shake it up every now and then. Number 9, nurture the close relationships. Nurture them. Write somebody a note. Call them. Connect with them through meeting them online through Microsoft Groups or Zoom meeting or whatever it might be, or FaceTime them. But nurture those close relationships. Then number 10, entertain yourself with books, puzzles, movies, documentaries. Just entertain yourself. Do a little binge watching that doesn't have commercials, that, doesn't remind you of what's going on in the world, but takes you out of this world and causes your imagination to think about other things. The other thing is that I do, and that's number 11, is take online classes. Learn something new and have fun doing it. I love to watch videos of other people painting. I got to thinking about this the other day. One of the things I don't understand about my young grandchildren is that the youngest ones will actually watch videos of people playing video games. Instead of playing the video games themselves, they watch people play videos of video games. And then it dawned on me the other day, I sit around watching videos of people painting instead of painting myself. And what I love is I learn all kinds of things, and my brain kind of is stretched and grows. And, I do the intuitive artwork kind of stuff where I don't start with a plan. It's intuitive, more intuitive than something that's planned out. And one of the things that people do is they call it activating a canvas, and it's where they just draw randomly on a canvas before they even start painting. And I thought it was just crazy at first, and then I tried it. And it was like, hey, these videos are worth it. So, entertain yourself. Number 12, take a walk, talk, or excuse me, not take a walk, although that would be good. I should do that. But number 12 is talk out your feelings, journal, but talk about how you're feeling. The feelings have to be felt, but they don't have to rule your decision making. But you have to talk them out. You have to talk through the pain, and you have to say, what's the worst part of this? Well, the worst part of it is, and express it so that you can get it out, and so that it's not so traumatizing, if you will, because this is a form of trauma that we're all going through. And then number 13, I tell myself all the time this one, and it's been in the first part and the second part of this little 3-part series, but don't focus on how miserable you are. Think of it this way. Emotional pain is much like physical pain. With physical pain, even if it's just small thing, a hangnail, let's just say, or a little bit of a toothache, or just a little bit of an ache in your back, if you have something like that and you focus on it and focus on it and focus on it, and for instance, let's say it's a hangnail, and you keep playing with that hangnail and you keep pulling on it and touching, you know what? It's going to hurt more. It's going to be worse. And then pretty soon you're going to be so focused on that, that's all you can think about is that physical pain. Now, obviously, there's times where we need to focus on the physical pain because there's something we need to do about it. And the same would be true with emotional pain. There's times where we need to think about the emotional pain, pay attention to it, and do something about it. But many times, there's also times where we just have to, it's going to get better. And if we stop focusing on it physically, for instance, a hangnail will heal, maybe the back will become not so inflamed or whatever, or a sore muscle gets better. Not every time do we have to focus on it. And the same is true with emotional pain, and I would argue that this is one of those times where we can't change what's going on. All we can do is change how we respond to it. I cannot be in charge of this global pandemic. And my focusing on how miserable it is and how I want my life back isn't going to do me any good. So I just have to focus on how I'm going to respond to it. And the next one is, and it's number 14, I say, make some plans. What are you going to do when the pandemic's over? I'm thinking that one of the things I want to do is take a trip. I want to go someplace. Just my wife and myself, and I just want to enjoy. I want to enjoy eating food and being someplace warm if it's cold here. But you got to have something that you're looking forward to. And if it's not this spring, maybe this summer, next fall, or if this Christmas is going to stink because the family can't get together, well, then think about this. Next Christmas, and I'm going to start working on making next Christmas special this year. The 15th thing is practice thankfulness. We covered that several times now, but just be thankful. Even in the midst of these difficult things, what can you be thankful about? And then finally, it really does boil down to all a matter of reframing how we look at things. Yep, feeling the feelings, but reframing, pivoting from the negative to looking to the good and the future and how we can be thankful for things today. Let me pray for you, my friend. Father, I just pray that some one of these or parts of these things that I've shared might be insights and helpful to my friend who's listening right now. Be with my friend, Father. Give them peace. Give them the ability to hear quietly from you in the midst of all of the turmoil and noise that goes on around us during crazy times like this. And Father, as they hear from you, I pray that you allow them to feel an extra measure of your presence, an extra measure of your love and your grace and your mercy for them. And Father, give them visions and dreams for the future. For this season will pass and a new one will come. And in the meantime, Lord, give them the patience and the ability to endure this time. In Jesus' name, amen. Well, my friend, I hope this little 3-part series has been helpful to you. And I want to thank you to listening to this edition of Fresh Hope for Mental Health. We'd love to hear from you. You can email me at pastorbrad@freshhope.us and connect with us on social media in any way, shape, or form. And if you do me a favor, if you're listening to this on iTunes, would you be sure to leave a comment or an evaluation or feedback about the podcast? That helps other people find it also. And if you think it would be helpful for you to attend a Fresh Hope for Mental Health group support group meeting, whether you're a loved one or you have a diagnosis, you can go to our website, freshhope.us, and go to the Find a Meeting section. Or if you feel like it would be beneficial for you to talk to a hope coach, we'd be more than happy to line up a meeting for you to talk to a hope coach. Well, my friend, until next time, I pray that the Lord continues to fill you with His hope, fresh and new daily, in spite of the craziness of these days. Well, I'm Brad Hoefs, your host, and this has been another edition of Fresh Hope for Mental Health.
You've been listening to Fresh Hope for Mental Health. If you have an opportunity, please review, share, and subscribe to the Fresh Hope for Mental Health podcast on iTunes or on the service that you use. We encourage you to share our podcast on social media with your friends and family. Previous podcasts of Fresh Hope for Mental Health can be found at freshhopeformentalhealth.com, iHeartRadio, Stitcher Radio, and iTunes. Fresh Hope is one of the leading networks of faith-based peer support groups internationally. For more information about Fresh Hope, go to freshhope.us.